Napoleon Bonaparte took bubble baths so long his staff had to reheat the water. He once got attacked by a swarm of bunnies. And he may have been assassinated by his own wallpaper. This is the Napoleon they didn't teach you about. Let's start with the man himself. First, we should address the gnome in the room. Napoleon wasn't short, despite his famed lack of vertical prowess. He was 5'6", which was average for a Frenchman of his era. The tiny tyrant myth came from British propaganda and a mix-up between French and English inches. So we can stop the jokes. We can, but we probably won't. What he was deeply strange. Napoleon took 2-hour baths almost daily, which in the early 1800s was roughly 47 times more bathing than any other average person. He'd dictate military strategy from the tub. He'd read in the tub. He may have even invaded Spain from the tub. History may never know. He was also a famously expedient diner. He had a thing for shoving food in his mouth so fast that meals lasted 10 minutes. Max. He'd ring a bell, demand dinner, inhale it, and leave. Then came the bunnies. In 1807, after signing the Treaty of Tilsit, Napoleon's chief of staff organised a celebratory rabbit hunt. He gathered hundreds of rabbits, but instead of wild ones, he grabbed tame rabbits used to being fed by humans. When Napoleon arrived, the bunnies, recognising humans as the snack bringers, charged him in a furry wave. The Emperor of Europe had to retreat to his carriage, which they followed him to. France's quickest and most adorable defeat to date. Of course, a powerful man who flees rabbits and bathes through breakfast is bound to make some questionable calls. And he made a spectacular one. Forget Waterloo. The real catastrophe was 1812, invading Russia. Napoleon assembled the largest army Europe had ever seen, 600,000 men, to punish Tsar Alexander for breaking a trade deal. The plan was simple: march in, win a big battle, force Russia to behave. The Russians had a different plan. Don't fight, retreat fast, and burn everything along the way. Napoleon marched deeper and deeper into nothing. He took Moscow. The Russians set Moscow on fire. He waited for surrender. The Tsar ghosted him. Then Russia's famous winters came. Temperatures dropped to -30. Soldiers froze in their boots. Horses were eaten. Then the boots were soaked to soften and eaten. Of the 600,000 who marched in, fewer than 100,000 staggered out. It remains one of the worst military disasters in human history, caused essentially by Napoleon's inability to have someone else's will imposed upon him instead of the opposite dynamic he was used to. That refusal to quit eventually caught up with him. After the shame of Russia and the subsequent defeat at Waterloo in 1815, Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena, a volcanic rock in the middle of the Atlantic, so remote it took 10 weeks to reach. He spent 6 years there, gardening, writing memoirs, and complaining bitterly about the British food. In 1821, he died. Officially, stomach cancer. In the 1960s, however, scientists tested his preserved hair and found arsenic levels up to 100 times normal. Murder? Maybe. But Napoleon's wallpaper at St. Helena was dyed with a pigment called Sheila's green, which contains, like so many vibrant green decorations of the era, arsenic. In damp conditions, it releases a toxic gas called arsine. Napoleon, conqueror of Europe, may have been slowly poisoned by his own decor. So there you have it. A bath-obsessed, rabbit-fleeing, Russia-invading emperor, possibly killed by interior design. History is weirder than fiction, and Napoleon was weirder than history. So what do you think killed him? The cancer, the potential killer with a bottle of arsenic, or the deadly wallpaper in a tropical climate? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more weird history, You know what to do.